Now look, I have to say, Wes, with One Lonely Farmer, I think you're totally full of, you know, those people that say stuff and put it on the internet to garner a response, kind of like what I just did. Really don't like those people, but I just kind of did it. But Wes, if you did see that intro, if any of you guys are thinking, oh my God, I love Lonely Farmer, I do too. I really appreciate his videos, his take on things, his raw honesty. Love his choice in big square balers, really hate his choice in tractors, but that's besides the point, guys. Wes has made a few videos that started out with Cold to Corn Star, and then it went to soil and his way of farming, and then it turned into a live of other stuff and him answering questions. And I thought it was a really good set of videos, but I do disagree with a few things he said, and I wanted to go ahead and address those today. First things first, I think that what he's trying to do is super awesome. I think the no-till, which it's not really no-till. Come on, Wes, you're tilling a little bit. Let's be honest, you're tilling a little bit. So Wes, the way he farms, he is in New Jersey. And we should probably give you some context. My farm versus his farm versus this, when I'm selling fertilizer products, what I see. So I see super low organic matter, which we have in common with New Jersey and Wes's farm. But I see high pH, about 8 usually in this area, and super high magnesium a lot of times in our soils, and and we have usually silt loam. There is some sandy soil in the western part of the valley. I haven't really dealt much in that. I'm usually in silt loam soils, with our CEC being right around that 20 range, okay? Wes has low pH, and well, maybe not low pH. Wes has low pH, low organic matter, like he said. We're about the same range, under 2.5 for pretty much every field that I see. And he has heavy clay soils, which is super important for the later part of this video. He has heavy clay soils. The CEC is super high, very tight, very hard ground. Now Wes thinks this. He will tell you to put away the plow. Do not get addicted to iron. I totally agree. Tillage is not a positive thing. Now Wes is still using a very specific vertical tillage machine, and he will tell you that it's very specific for a reason, because he does not want to disturb below the seed bed. And he'll tell you that I think preparing the seed bed is sometimes necessary. And if the temperature is really cold where you're at, like in this area of the world, maybe a little seedbed prep is a good thing. But in Wes's farm, he will tell you it takes a little more wherewithal, a little more ingenuity and thought process to no-till farm with cover crops, which is awesome, which is great to see, but also with just minimal tillage. Okay, it's going to take a little bit more thought to do that. Where I have a problem with the first part of this is that in his heavy clay soils, I personally don't know, I guess I can pose the question to him, is he testing for compaction? Is he out with the penetrometer testing the compaction, seeing how deep it is? Because he will tell you that he believes that he is going to start to see a response in his fields from 5 to 6 to 10 years of getting to a really great place of soil health. And I hope he does. I don't think it's going to happen that fast, because let's be honest, Mother Nature's time frame is much longer. And of course, there had to be a freaking airplane fly over while I'm trying to make a video. Go back to the world. Anyway, oh man, compaction is a problem. How do we break compaction? Some people say, well, use a tillage cover crop. That's totally possible. Totally a good way to do that. What if the cover crop doesn't get deep enough? Right? We're trying to build that soil profile. What if that soil profile is, especially with clay, is super rock hard all the way through? What if we can use tillage to build that soil to a certain point? Wes will also say that with tillage that we aerate the soil, and biology goes crazy. That's awesome. That's great. Biology should go crazy. It starts burning up the organic matter, starts doing what it's supposed to do, because biology has to breathe. If the soil is too compacted, too tight, bugs don't do their work. So if Wes is only opening up the top 3 inches of his ground, and the rest of it is super hard over 150 psi of compaction or of soil tension, which you can measure with a penetrometer, which you can buy from the link below, then he's not getting anywhere. That top 3 inches is going to be great, but the rest is going to not be good. And then they may use cover crops to penetrate that, but if you're never measuring that to know if it's getting better, how do you really know if it's getting better? My idea is this. I know Mother Nature works really slow, but she works really well. And she's taught us a lot, but is there anything I can do to help her do her job better? So can I use tillage, whatever that tillage is? I'm going to figure out what kind of compaction I have and then break it. Can I add specific, very specific mineral nutrition or carbon or what have you to the ground to help break that compaction, but break the compaction cycle, right? So I've gone in with tillage, I broke the compaction, then I've added very specific nutrients to that to then help it not recompact. And over time, can I help shorten the time span that Mother Nature needs to fix the problem? Can I help her along her path? And that's where I would come with. If the ground is super hard all the way through the soil profile, I'm not against using a plow. I'm not against using, if you have layers that of compaction super deep, I'm not against using a ripper. But at the same time, we have to put back something there to help that compaction from happening again. Otherwise, we're just another conventional farm. Now, the next thing, Wes hits big on biology this, biology this, biology this, biology this. But is he doing the things that we know biology need to survive? I'm sure, like we just spoke about with compaction, the ground's probably too hard for the bugs to do their job. I'm just gonna go ahead and make that assumption based off his clay soils and the kind of farming practices he is using. Good, bad, what have you. I'm also gonna say that he may be getting there, but the carbon to nitrogen ratio is probably not good enough yet for the bugs to do their job. And one other thing, which this is the third point, but also plays into the second point, he is still readily using glyphosate to terminate cover crops. The problem with glyphosate is, if you didn't know, glyphosate is basically an antibiotic. And anytime we introduce an antibiotic to that system, we knock back the biology and keep them from doing their job, because biology is the only thing that can break down glyphosate. So the reason that I bring up the glyphosate, and I think this is a super important point, is because in this part of the world, maybe different in New Jersey, but applying mineral nutrition of the same source with the goal in mind that we want to grow a good crop, but we also want to help the ground on the backside, right? We want the ground to get better. We are working on our soil health. From both of those different products being applied, we see responses. We see the ground changing, we see micronutrients being available, we see macronutrients becoming more readily available. We see things changing and happening. But the response is always greater on the organic farm versus the conventional farm. Always greater. The organic farm, far and away, has recovered and sees a much greater response from any input towards soil health than the conventional farm does. Whether I'm using cover crops or not, I'm seeing a greater response. And I say this to also say that we have several organic farms in the area that have used cover crops for a long time. And they've seen improvement in certain very specific things, namely water infiltration, but they've also been able to lower their chemical inputs, which is great. But as far as soil health, organic matter, pH, any of those other things, we haven't seen that big of a change. And pH we can kind of get into because we use irrigation here, so that it's kind of null and void. We got to fix the water first, which we're working on. But Wes from One Lonely Farmer, I love your stuff. I really think you're on a good path. I think you're going to see great results. I really appreciate your content here on YouTube. But I would just say, I think you probably have looked at it a little bit harder, but continuing to use the spray is never really going to get you to get as response as quick as you want. That spray is constantly setting that biology back and never really allowing them to work on the ground because they're too busy feeding the crop. And then you hit them with a nuke, and then they have to fix that nuke, and then they have to go back and work on the crop. And then by the time they recover, they don't have the opportunity to do what they were intended to do, which you are a big proponent of. And I would just question you or ask you, maybe try it on a field where you don't spray. maybe use a roller crimper. And I know that's more money. We all have that problem. I run into it too. Having the money to do the things is the hardest part. Guys, thank you for watching. God bless. Have a wonderful day. Wes at One Lonely Farmer, you should definitely check out his videos. You should definitely watch it and take it with a grain of salt, just like you should take my content with a grain of salt, because we really all are just here for a very short amount of time, and we all are on the path to soil health. Not the same path, but we're on a path to soil health. God bless. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time.